The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Groons. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, and minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, so I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing. They're easy to toss in my bag on the go. Plus, they're vegan, gluten-free, and HSA, FSA eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with promo code podcast at gruns.co. That's code podcast at gruns.co.
It's the Go Gopher podcast with Mike Grimm, episode number 38. I am Mike Grimm, voice of the Golden Gophers, and welcome back to the podcast. The Golden Gopher football team opened Big Ten play with a convincing road win at number 21 Michigan State last Saturday. Minnesota's now 4-0 on the season and has homecoming against Purdue this weekend. The Gophers are near the top of several major offensive and defensive categories in the national stats. We have another great podcast to get a behind-the-scenes look at Gopher football. We'll also get some outside perspective as well. First, we'll talk with Gopher punter Mark Crawford from Australia. He's only had to punt 3 times in 4 games so far, getting most of his on-field activity by holding for extra points and field goals. He has a great personality and a great Aussie accent. I know you'll enjoy my conversation with Mark here on episode number 38. From there, we're going to get the Purdue scouting report from longtime college football insider Tom Dienhart, who for years covered the sport for the Sporting News and the Big Ten Network, and has now settled nicely into covering the Boilermakers for goldandblack.com, the Rivals website covering Purdue sports. Tom has his finger on the pulse of Boilermaker football, and he'll tell us what to watch for this Saturday in Minneapolis. Our Go Gopher podcast is presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions, alumni owned. If you're a business founder planning to exit your business, start by contacting Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. Sunbelt serves more businesses up to $5 million in revenue than anyone, and True North M&A serves companies with revenues up to $150 million. You can get a confidential, no-cost, no-obligation business valuation started today. Hey, make the most of your life's work. Visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com today. Our thanks to Brian Slipka. He leads their group in serving and giving. The Go Gopher podcast with Mike Grimm is also partnered with Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union. Like the Gophers, Affinity Plus is fundamentally sound with preparation, focus, and follow-through. We're glad to be affiliated with Affinity Plus, a local Minnesota credit union providing all of your banking needs, including a top-ranked mobile app. And talk about community involvement, they have that as well, including great work with Special Olympics Minnesota and being a top supporter of Gopher Athletics. They sponsor our player profile segment within our podcast, which includes our upcoming feature with Gopher punter Mark Crawford. Our podcast is also sponsored by State Farm agent Tony Hoagland at ChamplinInsurance.com. I invite you to subscribe to the podcast. It's free to click the subscribe button. You can listen for free at any time. You can also go back and listen to our previous podcast, including last week's show, where we talked with Gopher offensive lineman Quinn Carroll and BTN's Brandon Gaudin. This week, it's more Gopher football talk on the Go Gopher podcast, episode number 38. Gopher punter Mark Crawford is our guest. Here's our conversation. It's episode 38, the Go Gopher podcast, and we are really excited to welcome to the show Mark Crawford, Golden Gopher punter, Perth, Australia. Halfway around the world. Here you are in the Twin Cities. Year 3 on campus, right?
Year three.
Good to see you.
Yep, great to see you.
I love the Australian accent, the New Zealand accent. Of course, volleyball coach Hugh McCutcheon has been a guest on a number of interviews, and I could just sit back and listen to him. My running joke when we're out on the speaking circuit with him, we go on these coaches' caravans, and so I introduce him, and he'll talk, and then when I'm done, he's been here now 10 years, I'll always say, and for those that want to continue to listen to Hugh, he'll be reading the phone book after the ceremony or after the event, and people always get a kick out of that. So I won't use that. I won't say Mark Crawford's going to.
If you need me to, I'm more than happy to
read the phone book for the rest of the podcast.
Absolutely, yep.
People would listen. It's always good. When you go around campus and then people hear you talk for the first time, what do they immediately identify it as Australian, or do they ask where you're from? What's the usual response?
It's a good question. It's sort of a mixed bag, I suppose, at times.
Yeah.
I think that the most common is initially, is that British? I'm thinking, no, mate, it's close, but it's that other side of the world. It's not the other side of the Northern Hemisphere, but the other side of the world. So, New Zealand is a pretty common one as well. Is it New Zealand or Australia?
Yeah.
So, I mean, my dad was born in New Zealand, so maybe that's got something to do with it.
A little hereditary there, right?
Yeah, but he definitely sounds Australian. He definitely sounds Australian.
And they're pretty close, right? Those two accents are kind of, almost alike, I guess. Like for us, Minnesotans, it would be, we couldn't tell. Maybe an Australian could tell if it's a New Zealand accent.
Absolutely,
compared to, be like here.
It has its words where they sound nearly identical.
Yeah,
sure.
and probably like somebody from Australia might not be able to detect that's a Minnesota accent, and I can tell if somebody's from, say, like where Purdue's from, the opponent. Like there's a definite Southern Indiana accent. It's not all the way south, right? It's not like that guy's from Alabama.
Yeah, but
you can tell it's Indiana, and it's different than Minnesota. But maybe somebody from London or Perth might not be able to detect.
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be hundreds of different accents in America. It's awesome. Yeah, I love it. I love it
for sure. Well, I got to ask. We're going to talk about the season and all of that, but I think the story. You probably have just a amazing amount of stories to tell. How did you end up at the University of Minnesota as the punter?
Yep. That's obviously a pretty common question, but one that I'm never angry to answer. So. Basically, I played cricket for a long time after, through high school and post high school for a little bit.
And cricket, that's more like baseball.
Yes,
than football,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. There's nearly no correlation between cricket and football besides sport. That's the correlation, is that it's a sport. But I suppose I played Australian rules football growing up, which is a very different sport to anything here. And I suppose we punt the ball in that game, that would be like a pass and a shot for goal and whatever, I suppose. And you just sort of grow up playing it. And I played that until I finished high school. But then, played cricket for, a couple of years after that. And then sort of stopped playing cricket. And then that I guess I was thinking about, I should start studying, whatever. And I sort of floated around a little bit. I worked at my old school and then, coached a little bit of cricket, a little bit of Australian rules football and things like that. And then I got to a point where I was like, look, I need to change my life up a little bit. I want to go and study. Like I haven't studied yet. I want to go and study.
And at this point, how old are you then?
I'm probably 24 when I was at this point.
Wow. Yeah. So you played cricket just as a hobby, or was it like a minor league?
I tried to go as professionally as I could, I suppose. So I was fortunate to be in a few squads sort of growing up and things like that, but that sort of finished when I was about 19, 20. And then I played for, a year or two just sort of at an amateur level, but I was still striving to go to that next that next level, I suppose. And then basically, when that wrapped up and then I sort of figured that I wanted to study again, I said, look, I'm going to move to Melbourne. I'm going to give it a crack, just get out of home, get out of Perth, experience something different culture. I mean, Australia's very similar overall, but a different part of the world, I suppose. And then, look, one thing led to another, and one of my friends said, hey, you should try this program out. They try and get guys over to college to play, American football. And I said, look, what difference is another 6 months make? I'll give it 6 months. And, if it doesn't work out, then I'll just start studying in Melbourne. Otherwise, I'll get cracking elsewhere. And anyway, so went down, had a punt, and they literally said, well, I reckon we can get you school. I said, sure. All right. Well, tell me what to do. And I'm here for it. And practiced for, 3 or 4 times a week, but literally within about 3 or 4 weeks, they said, do you like the cold? I said, how bad can it be? Yeah, absolutely, for sure. There's no issues with that. And then they said, would you like to go to Minnesota? I said, let's go. And locked and loaded. And that was it. That was the recruiting process. That was it.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I just knew from that point on that I was sort of destined to head to Minnesota in January of 2020 and went from there.
So Australian rules football. So you went from playing that at high school, and there was a lot of kicking, a lot of accurate. That's probably where you get the accuracy of the punting and that kind of thing. But other than that, it's not much like American football. Ball's a little bigger, right? And I like the... What are the score? What's the score?
The goal
called?
Umpires.
Yeah. And but that's not a touchdown. What do they call it?
It's just a goal.
A goal.
So a goal would be 6 points, and then you've actually got what they call a behind or a point.
Yeah.
So you get points for missing as well, which is kind of strange. Like imagine if you hit the upright as a field goal, as a place kicker, and you get a point for that.
Yeah.
But if you put it through, you get 3.
3.
It'd be kind of like something similar to that, which is kind of ironic.
But so you went years then without punting or kicking or doing anything, and then all of a sudden, and so you must have been pretty good at it when you were playing.
I mean, partially. I wasn't necessarily in any special squads sort of growing up playing Australian rules football, but I went and coached, because it was a winter sport. Cricket was a summer sport, so I went and coached in the winter, and I would coach at junior level, and basically for fun, we just kick as far as we can.
Yeah.
And so I guess I stayed, in tune with how to punt, I suppose. But it wasn't necessarily, catch a snap, 3-step kick. It was, just run around with it and then try and kick it as far as you can. So,
and that has been kind of a trend, I'd say, for sure over the last 10 years. I forget when some of the, the running punts and the different formations and things. So you go to this school, this
Academy,
this punting academy.
Pro Kick Australia.
And all of a sudden it's like this guy's got a leg on him. He can kick it far. He can kick it accurate. Minnesota's a fit. And now here you are.
Yeah.
What was your impression of? So I'm sure there's differences in terms of colleges and different things. So now you're enrolled. You're doing school.
I'm in the deep end at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. The snow falls.
Yep.
And now what?
Yep.
You're like, what the heck?
Yeah. There's definitely a part of me that was thinking, I'd seen snow before, but I'd never lived in the snow. So that was certainly a bit of a change. Making sure that I had to not fall over on the way to class or on the way to football. The sun getting up at about 8 a.m., going down at 4:30. I was thinking, wow, it's brisk out here when it's, 10 Fahrenheit, which is, whatever it is in Celsius. I still don't know. Once it gets below 32, I'm like, all right, it's cold.
Yeah, it's freezing. Literally, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I sort of just came with the mentality just to immerse myself in it. I said, this is so foreign to me that the only option is to enjoy it.
And I've heard, that's what I think Coach Fleck has talked about it. Some of your teammates have talked about it, that has been apparent to them, that you have just embraced everything about this. It looks like you've enjoyed yourself. And that's accurate then.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's one of those things where, everyone sort of tells you, you'll enjoy it, like you'll have fun, whatever. But there's a certain aspect, especially some of the younger Australians that come over when, if they're 19, 20, to move halfway across the world and then not have pretty much I didn't know anyone in Minnesota.
Right.
The first guy I ever met was the guy that picked me up from the airport in January 17, 2020 or whatever it was. And then I met Coach Wenger, then I met Coach Fleck, and it was quite a roller coaster, but the whole philosophy was like, I'm here for it. Let's go.
Let's roll. Yeah. That and you're right. You were a little older than the traditional freshman student, so that probably helped just from a maturity standpoint. And here we are. Let's do this. Now you're what? 28. 28.
Yep.
You're a junior.
Yep.
What's that like, kind of being like the old guy on campus and the old guy on the team, or did you not even really pay attention to that part of it?
I guess
because if I'm looking at you, I can't. You just look like a college guy, right?
I always say that I look like I'm 23, 24 because I'm at college. But then you put me in a crowd of 30-year-olds, I'll look 30 as well.
That's true. Yeah.
So I guess it's just the environment that I've been placed in. But I was actually just in a class, and a few of them found out that I was 28, and they all started having a bit of a laugh. They're like, wow, you must be like 23, 24. I said, I'm 28. And they're like, wow, 28. There's a few draws dropped and things like that, which was pretty funny. But I've had no issues sort of immersing myself in it. Growing up playing cricket, I was fortunate enough to play in squads where that was classified as like a seniors from about the age of 13. So, I'd always been around various age groups, whereas college is very specific to, between sort of 17 and 23. But there's some antics that some of the 18-year-olds are talking about. I'm like, mate, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about that just yet. That is something that you are going to look back on and think that is not something.
Why'd I worry about that? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you can impart a little wisdom on those.
Yeah, I like to think so.
Yeah, right.
Either that or I just bully them about it a little bit. But they're pretty good about it.
Yeah. Are there some ways that they energize you too to see
100%.
this young,
100%.
These young guys? Because you think about it, some of them might be 10 years younger than you.
Yeah.
Right? I get that. I'm over 50, but just being around the team every day is an energizing thing. It keeps you feeling young, even though inside you're not. Now you're not 50 like I am, but but I would think if you're 28 and there's some 18-year-olds and it can get you some juice.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes the mentality of we have practice, they have school, then we get dinner or whatever, and then they go, all right, do you want to do we want to go get another meal, or do you want to do we want to go to the Mall of America or something? I'm like, buddies, let's just hang out. I just want to lie down for a little bit. You guys can do that. Just do the right thing and it's all good. So, but at the same time, in the morning, obviously being a little bit older now, I'm sort of more accustomed to waking up in the morning a little bit. So I sort of bring a bit of juice, and I like getting involved with some of the young guys and saying, hey, wake up. Like, it's time to go. It's fun. It's 6 a.m. Let's roll. Let's go. So, and they give me a dirty look, and I'm like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah,
what are you actually going to do about it? So,
that's true. Good point. Now, did you have, obviously you'd have to learn American rules for football. Did you have any idea what American football was? Did you follow it enough to know, like, hey, I'm going to pin them inside the 20, or I need to hang one high, or was this all new when you got to the academy?
I guess the intricacies of punting was certainly a part of it. We knew that you had to get more hang time.
Yep.
But I'd watched enough football. My dad and I, we loved watching, American football through. The timing of the games was awkward, so it was always like Thursday, Sunday, and Monday night football were the ones that we'd watch because it was mid-morning.
Sure.
The following day. But I was fortunate enough. The first ever game I watched was 2013 Super Bowl. Seahawks beat Broncos, and I was a Seahawk from that moment on. And then I traveled to America in 2015, and I watched the Jets play the Pats at MetLife.
Out in New York, New Jersey.
Yes, New Jersey, and the Jets won. And I was thinking, this team just knocked off the greatest player to play this game. And it was funny because I didn't really know what was going on. I knew that Brady was a good player. He's still, he was pretty much a household name back home as well.
Yeah.
But I was just blown away. I was like, this game is awesome. Wouldn't it be cool to go play that game one day? And look, 3 years later, I ended up, practicing to arrive, and now I'm living the dream.
It's amazing. It really is amazing. What's your area of study? What are you interested in?
Psychology. Yep. Year 3 now, junior. Loving it. It's good. It's good fun. As I said, I would have studied regardless of if I came here or not, and it was the plan was to study psychology. But certainly interested in a corporate sort of industrial organizational side of things. But it's been fascinating learning again on some level.
It's a remarkable story. Now, there's a lot of Australian guys. Now, I think almost every Big Ten team has a punter, right, from Australia, it seems. I know Illinois had one.
Mm-hmm. Well, they still do.
Blake Hayes was
Hayes,
Australian?
He was a 5-year starter there. Yeah. He was awesome.
And then Iowa's got Torrey Taylor, and he's had, he gets all the publicity because they punt 100 times a game.
Yeah,
you never get to punt.
I actually sent him, ironically, a message yesterday saying, can you please stop stealing Special Teams Player of the Week award off me?
Yeah.
Because, I held 6 times yesterday. I think it's my turn to win the award.
You're like the former Gopher punter, Pete Mortell. Have you met Pete?
Yes.
Yeah, so he, of course, invented the Holder of the Year. Yep. So that can be one of your goals.
One of the heroes.
Were you one of the finalists last year?
No, I was not.
So this has got to be your year.
I've got to be better on
social media. 10 holds in one game.
Exactly.
Right? Between touchdowns and PATs.
Yep.
So how well do you know some of those? Did you guys all kind of go to that one academy then?
Yeah, so Torrey Taylor is, I would say he's probably my best friend over in the States.
Yep.
I speak to him, if it's not daily, it'd be on some sort of weekly basis for sure. And then I did know Blake. He's obviously moved on from Illinois now, but Hugh Robertson's there. He's older than me. I'm almost certain he's older than me. Yeah, yep. Right? So that's good fun.
So I think Blake, was he like 30 maybe?
No, Blake was pretty young.
He was younger.
Yeah,
okay.
I think Blake was only 24, 25 when he wrapped up. So, okay. But he's still over here. He's still playing on at some capacity. So, but yeah, Adam Corsack at Rutgers.
I didn't know he was Australian.
Yeah.
Because that was the Puntapalooza last week, Iowa and Rutgers, right?
Yes,
with those two guys.
The Thunder from down under, as they said, or something like that. Yeah. And Jack Ansell this week for Purdue. So I get to see Jack again this year, which will be good fun.
It's crazy. So how much, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but how much fun would you have if the Gophers can beat the Hawkeyes and we get Floyd to Rosedale, and then you have the right to talk some trash to Torrey Taylor, your best friend here?
Yeah, that would be pretty special. That would be pretty special. But he's a great character in general. Like, he never said anything to me about it.
So he hasn't talked much trash your
last
way?
couple of years. No, he's pretty. He'll dish out every now and then, but as everyone should, it's just competitive at that point.
Beauty of the rivalry.
So,
right?
I'm sure I'll have to send him at least one message saying like, "Do you like my new accessory?" And it'll just be a trophy.
That'd be awesome.
But I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Yeah,
we have Purdue this week, mate. So that's all I'm thinking about.
The Purdue one-game championship season, as you well know. So as you now have, do you feel like you're almost stealing scholarship money, not punting very much? No, I'm just teasing. 3 punts in 4 games. That's pretty good. I mean, I guess if that's your life, that can be your life.
Yeah. I mean, that was the first 0 punt game I'd ever had on the weekend. So, I mean, I've got to stay warm pretty much the whole time because anytime there's a third down, we got to be ready. So,
sure.
But, I sort of always joke about it. Obviously, I love to punt. Punting is awesome and give me the ball at any time. But my favorite 4 plays would be PAT field goal.
Yep.
Because it means that we've just scored a touchdown, so I'm out there as the holder. Field goal, because it means reasonable field position, probably, almost definitely going to put on some points. And then third would be a fake punt. And then fourth is punting. So it's my least favorite play that I'm involved in, but it's the thing I love to do.
Yeah, because you hold and you also obviously punt. And so the holding aspect of it. Now, have you run a fake punt yet?
Not with me behind the snap.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. Well, maybe, right? Maybe if the right time comes, you never know. That'd be fun too.
You always got to have something.
Do you have a good arm? Can you throw too?
I can throw like a rugby pass. I mean, I like to think I can throw, but I'm sure the coaches think otherwise sometimes.
They'll have something figured out if it comes to that for sure. So now it's funny because holding is one of those deals that everyone takes for granted, right? I I wasn't joking. I wasn't exaggerating. You had 10 holds. Was it the Western Illinois game? You had 10 holds, right, between PATs and field goals. And was it 6 or 7 in the first game, and obviously the other night 5 against Michigan State. So there is, no one pays attention to the holder until there's a flub snap or until you can't.
Something goes wrong.
Something goes wrong.
Yeah.
So people take it for granted, and it's. I remember talking to Casey O'Brien, who probably has the most famous hold in school history just because of his story and all that stuff. And it was one of my favorite moments of my time doing games on the radio was that game out at Rutgers where he got some holds, and then next week or the week 2 weeks after, I can't remember exactly, the Maryland, he got some holds at home. Yep. And I know you guys crossed over one year.
For a year.
And so, we know Casey's story. So that was great. So you take it for granted till then. But I remember talking to Casey, I can't remember the exact number, but he estimated that up until the point he actually held in a game, in practice, it was something like he figured he probably practiced 3 million reps maybe over the course of time because
it's probably more like 4 million.
Because you think about how many times, and for you now, because Dragon Kesic, man, that guy's got a leg too, right? I watch him in fall camp, and I'm like, the Gophers have 2 pretty darn good kickers here,
absolutely.
And Matthew can take it out to 50, and I think the coaches are comfortable with whoever kicks, and obviously Matthew is getting the job done. But if all of a sudden you need a 63-yard field goal, maybe that's the guy, right? And I thought maybe for a second at Michigan State, PJ was thinking about it
before halftime,
right before half. But then probably, and if it was a different score, but I think you don't want to.
I think you play the percentages.
Right? You
play the percentages.
You got to do what you got to do. But that said, so my point is that there's 2 good kickers, but one's a lefty and one's a righty, which is a totally different angle to hold. So you're practicing both, I assume, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't really do much hold work before I got here. You do a little bit back home, but not all the Australians come over and hold. Like this is Tory Taylor's 3rd year as well, but this is his 1st year holding. So I didn't hold in 2020, and then we had last year I was a holder, and this year again. But I guess I came into it just trying to learn as much as I could, as quickly and effectively as I could, and it just happened to be that we had a lefty and a righty, so I just equaled the workload, and all of a sudden I could do it for both. So, it's good fun. I love holding for both of those guys. Trick's one of the all-time professionals in our team for sure, and Dragan's got the booming energy and the booming legs. So,
and he's now got his video stuff that he puts out with these. Vignettes. What a personality.
Yeah, he is something. I live with the guy, so he's awesome on all fronts, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
It's fun too. The special teamers kind of have that special bond. Like, for example, when I was growing up, so as I'm way older than you. You're old, but I'm real old.
Thank you, though.
The holders were always the backup quarterbacks because coaches, I think, thought if we want to run a fake, we want a guy that can throw. Yeah. And then at some point, I'm going to say 20 or so years ago, coaches said, the backup quarterback needs to still be on the scout team or do reps.
Yeah.
And special teams needs to practice more often. And to do that, they need to be by themselves.
Yeah,
right?
I guess we just practice at different times.
Yeah.
Like sort of pre-practice, we get most of our work in. And then so it goes, like the quarterback's obviously in the meeting. They're still meeting, they're still preparing for practice, and then they've got to come out and they've got to warm up themselves.
Yep.
Whereas we're still, doing our thing, and then we get sort of almost shut down during practice apart from the specific periods that we have. So I think it just makes sense. And we're always together. There's a good chemistry there, and it
does become, I mean, over the years, all you guys over the years, whether it's holding, punting, place kicking, it's just been a special group of players over the years. And if I start naming them, then I'll forget, and people will get mad at me because I've liked them all. So I'll just say that group in general, all the way up through, is fun. But I think part of it is, as you mentioned, you spend so much time together now. So instead of that backup quarterback going over and practicing with special teams, I think the coaches have said, look, they need their practice time. Let's have the punter be the holder because they're together all the time.
Yeah.
And
we're always sort of available. We're doing the same thing at the same time.
Yeah. So there you are. All right. So take us through a practice, for example. You mentioned like during actual practice, you guys are watching. Even I see on the sideline sometimes you'll practice, doing some snaps or kick into you might punt into a net or what have you. But give us an average day. Tomorrow's Wednesday. We're taping right now on a Tuesday. So tomorrow's Wednesday. What does Mark Crawford's Wednesday look like?
Well, Wednesday for me is far more shut down compared to the Tuesday. So
let's take us through what today was then. Yeah.
Today. So we had meetings that, team meeting, special teams meeting, that wrapped up about 8:15, 8:30. Yeah, 8:15, 8:30 a.m. And then we had a quick position group meeting, just the specialists, Coach Wenger, and things like that. And then we went out there just around 9 o'clock this morning, and we go out. Recently we've been going outside to accustom to the conditions, whatever. This morning was a little bit cooler as well, which is always nice. And, script some pre-practice punts that, prepare us for game situations. So probably punted, between 10 and 20 times, live reps, etc. And then make our way back inside. The kickers, we do the field goal stuff. And then practice sort of begins, and we're sort of on the sideline until the period where it's field goal period. So today we went field goal period and then straight into punt. So we were front heavy for sure.
You went going, yeah.
Yeah, and then they sort of scattered it. Coach Flex sort of scatters it out to 3 or 4 periods between special teams reps. I kind of like it because it's like a game. I'll punt a couple of times and then all of a sudden I won't do much for 20, 30 minutes, and then I'm expected to perform at the level required again. So that's how it sort of operates on a Tuesday. And then Wednesday we don't have punt. So we don't do pre-practice again, but then during practice there's different emphases on different parts of special teams. So every now and then I'll get some punt work in, but normally it's warm up, do the pre-game script sort of thing like that, and then pre-practice script, and then I'll sort of shut it down for a little bit.
Yeah, and then at any point, and I don't know if it's scripted, bonsai comes up. So tell our listeners what bonsai is.
Bonsai is basically just a situation where, it's before the end of a half or before the end of the game. You're down by a field goal or less, and you've probably got no timeout. We've definitely got no timeouts, but you might have one, but then it evaporates before we get down there. And, we're in field goal range. The clock's sort of running down. Anything... we say the magic number is about 16 seconds to be from the sideline out there to put it through. But basically it's just on air. You just got to go with the flow and be aware of the clock and, the other externals that go with it, and make sure everyone's set, and then flash it 3 and then get the game-winning field goal or the kick before halftime.
Wow. So basically, I don't know, like I said, if it's scripted, but the practices I've been to all of a sudden, because PJ's mic'd and there's speakers, he'll just yell bonsai.
Yeah.
Like it might be in the middle of practice sometimes.
Yeah, a bit of pandemonium.
And everyone has to then, and he starts counting it down, 10, 9, 8, and then everyone, you're the holder, the center. There might be guys doing drills on the other end of the field, and if he's the left guard on field goal, he's got to sprint down there, and then you get all set, and he's counting it down, and Matthew Trickett kicks it up, and that
ball is good. And then all of a sudden we're away, And then it's weird because then after that it's like, good work.
Yeah.
You're off.
Yeah, you're off.
Okay, cool.
Go rest for another 20 minutes or whatever.
Exactly.
And the music is Queen, right? Pressure, that they play that.
Yep.
Emmett Carpenter, one time, former Gopher place kicker, one of our all-time favorites, told me that if and he hit a lot of kick. He was kicker of the year in the Big Ten one year. Says when that song comes on the radio, he still gets like some butterflies going.
Yeah.
It's like that song's been ruined for him. He can't just sit back and enjoy it because you feel
you just
that
lock in and you're all ready to
run out.
Well, I think the punt one is Highway to the Danger Zone. So
is that right?
Yeah. Just because obviously not all punts are the same. And it could always end in a different outcome. So it is sort of like the highway zone. It's high impact. It's high velocity. There's a lot going on. It's awesome.
It's crazy indeed. So coming from Australia, the Australian rules kind of, you mentioned a punt is more like a forward pass, right? So you grew up working on accuracy off the foot more so than maybe some kid growing up here in Minneapolis playing high school football where it's only distance. I mean, there's some directional kicking, but how many different punts would you say you maybe now have in your arsenal that Coach Wenger can maybe call upon in a game? And without giving too much away.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Coach Wenger is the ultimate mastermind on special teams. He is unbelievable. But in terms of different styles of kicks, I guess there's probably more than half a dozen. I'd say closer to a dozen,
right?
Of just different style of either ball flight, the way I move into the ball, the direction after the movement itself, and things like that. So, it's. I actually haven't sat down and thought about it, so maybe I'll get back to you.
That'd be a good one, Because even in a game I'll watch, and sometimes it's just it's not often because I do think they want hang time and make the guy catch. Like if you were just given the green light, you'd probably average 60 yards a punt, but that's not. In doing that, there's the danger that the guy's going to have so much more room to return because you outkick the coverage, as they say. But you've got hang it up high, or sometimes you'll take it and you'll run right and then line drive one down there to keep it away from a guy, or end over in to be like a golf shot, right? Bounce at the 5 and bounce back. And then you and Phil Howard had that thing going last year. It was like pitch and catch, right?
Yeah.
It was amazing. That had to be almost, a couple times a game sometimes.
Yeah, there was 2 or 3 times in one game that I certainly remember, but I think we did that close to 10 times over the course of the season.
Yeah. And so that, I'm sure that's right, calling upon your Australian rules where you got to be accurate.
Yeah,
so,
that's
if you're at the 40, you want to kick it 37 yards and drop it in there. And you haven't had any, up to this point, you haven't had any opportunity really to do much. I know you've gotten a couple inside the 20, but, when the time comes, I'm sure that's still a part of the arsenal, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're always pretty switched on with that sort of stuff and make sure that we get the reps in for any sort of situation that arises. Sky punts are always good. There's a lot of guys that get all cranky about them because it ruins their average, but I am not remotely worried about numbers. I'm just, whatever the team wants, I am all for that. So
whatever helps the team, right?
Absolutely, big time.
And then from that angle, how long did it take you once you got here to kind of dial in on just the comfort level of, okay, I get it. Here's the routine. And now also just generally, the Big Ten, Iowa's a rival. We hate Wisconsin. Purdue's coming into town. Homecoming's important, stuff that probably, and if you grow up in Australia, it's not something you probably have thought about before, right?
Yeah, no, it's certainly not. In terms of the rivalries, I had to research that sort of stuff before I got here to truly understand. Because I really only got about, a season, the 2019 season, where I was actively following Minnesota in that aspect. And, people always say, we have to beat Wisconsin, we have to beat Iowa. But I'm very much, I always say this team's all right. But then when it's game week, I think, I just really want to beat this team. I want to beat this team more than anyone I've ever wanted to beat before in my life.
Yeah.
And then, that game's done. And then all of a sudden there's next week and I'm thinking, I think I don't like this team more than the other team that we just played. So
you're a competitive guy.
Yeah.
Is that just from that cricket background growing up? Australian rules football.
Just hate losing.
Yeah.
And
so you're ready each week, whoever it is, to do your damage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Purdue's going to be a ripper. We can't wait.
Is how much fun is it to see your team, even if you have to, watch? Again, you're going to be called upon, obviously. I mean, you're not going to probably go. Great. It'd be great if you punt only once a game for the rest of the year. We're in pretty good shape, right? So that'd be fine. But assuming that you get called upon, just in general though, to watch the success so far. And again, it's each week is the championship game season. I get that, but there also has to be a second to step back and say we're 4-0, ranked in the top 25. It's been a really good start. I mean, how much fun has that part of it been?
Yeah, I mean, winning is always fun. Absolutely. But the thing that I like about, the the situation that we're in at the moment is the team itself and how they sort of conduct themselves and the professionalism on offense and defense. You know, there's a few older guys there. And every time we go out, it's sort of one of those things where you think, I've got to do it for my teammate. Like, I'm doing it for my teammate. I'm doing it not just for me, not just for, you know, the coach, whatever, but it's also for the guy that runs out next to me. And that's the thing that hits closest to home, absolutely, when we're out on the field. Like, even during practice, I was thinking, you know, Derek, the captain, always looks back at me and says, you good? It's like, yep. And I'm thinking, geez, this ball's got to be good for Derek. You know what I mean? Like, it's
play for each other, right?
Yeah, it's a strange sort of feeling, but it's definitely for each other.
Yeah, Mike Brown-Stevens, a receiver today, was talking about that he was so happy when other guys caught touchdowns last week. Yeah. That he goes, I think I was more happy that they caught it than if I would have. And so when you start playing in that style, it changes the whole complexion of the goal, right? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as we talked about before, I didn't punt last game, and I was on cloud nine. And I love to punt, so it was weird. Yeah. The seeing other guys perform and do what they can for the better of the team is definitely something that, you know, we strive to as a group, as a team, to, you know, succeed. Yeah. Absolutely. You mentioned the practice and the different things. Is there, like, I know in baseball, let's say, you know, you can only throw so much before your arm gets sore. You know, weightlifting, you got it. Is that true with the leg too? Do you have to maintain it? Can you punt 100 times a day, or do you have to limit it, or do you have to take a day of rest? How does that work, if at all?
Yeah, rest is certainly required at various stages of the week, but I think punting is probably the least damaging to the body compared to field goal kicking and kickoff, for sure. I mean, kickoff, you're hitting that thing at 1,000 miles an hour. Yeah. Field goal, there's a little bit more rotation through the body, so you definitely have to monitor yourself, whereas punt is one of those things where if I start getting tired, you know, you hit a couple of bad balls or you hit a few balls and you're like, that could be better, and you think, hold on, I've just hit 40 balls. I need to just stop for the day, like wrap it up.
Because you don't want muscle memory to kick in at that point, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You want to, I mean, because on game day, it's very different. You just want to be conditioned to be warm the whole day. You don't want to be conditioned to punting 50,000 times. So,
and the drop, right? That's as key as anything, right? I have some friends who have been punters, now American punters, not what you do, but they have told me that the drop of the ball is as important as, because you got the skill, the fundamentals. So if the drop is a little off, the punt may be a little off.
Yeah, sometimes obviously you can certainly save it through the rest of your technique falling into place, but it basically starts with the steps and the drop, really. I mean, they're the two big ones, and the rest will sort of has a much greater chance of following through.
The coordination of it all.
Right, yeah.
And I'm not saying this to make fun of him, but your buddy, I remember watching the Gophers. We're at Nebraska in the COVID year, and we beat Nebraska, and then I think Iowa is playing Wisconsin. Okay. And so we're driving back because nobody could travel, so we're driving back, and I'm watching. I wasn't driving, so we had the game on the cell phone, and the snap went to Torrey Taylor, your buddy at Iowa, and Iowa ended up winning the game, which is neither here nor there, but he dropped the punt, or he dropped the snap, which is always, I'm sure, the biggest fear, right? Yep. And he did. I don't know if he didn't know the rule or whatever, but he then just kicked it off the ground, which becomes a fumble. Right. Yeah. And so Wisconsin ended up getting great field position. It didn't cost Iowa, but I wonder too, from a rule standpoint, those things, like I suppose in Australian rules, that's fine. Yeah, right? that plays. You just kick.
Yep.
So
good.
Instinctively, I'm sure he booted it. So those things you probably got to get a handle on too, right?
Yeah, Coach Wenger and Coach Fleck, they hammer the smaller details. So we're all over that. I know. If Tori's ever out here listening to that, I definitely wouldn't have done that, buddy. But it looked good. It looked good in the moment for sure. You know, a bit of a laugh, whatever. But if you lost that game, man,
I remember it for whatever reason. I'm like, I wonder if that he didn't know, because he just dropped it and he just punted it. It bounced up and he got a great kick out.
Yeah,
of it, right?
He landed 40 yards. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was snowing or
it was bad
cold.
weather. Yeah.
So there's a part of me that can't blame him for it. But certainly. I've been trained well, not to do that.
Yeah, and let's hope that it never happens. It's always a smooth snap and always a smooth drop and a smooth punt.
That's it.
So cricket is, as I mentioned, is close to baseball. Mm-hmm. Have you played baseball?
I played t-ball growing up.
Is that right? Okay.
Yep. Before we got into cricket, but outside of that, no, that was it.
That was it.
So.
But some of the skills must cross over. You have a good arm.
Yeah, I like to think so. But
So I'm
sure
trying,
baseball is my thing.
I'm trying to get to the point of, do you think you could play baseball for the Gophers at some point?
I mean, football's always going to be the priority there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think it would be cool to go out and just have a throw and see what it's like.
Just see. Because what's a cricket ball size?
It's nearly the exact same size.
It is, okay.
And pretty much the same weight. It's a different sort of – the way it's stitched is different.
Okay.
And you use the same ball for pretty much every rep or every pitch equivalent.
Gotcha.
Like we say, every ball you bowl.
Yeah.
And in baseball, you're pretty much using a brand new ball. But in cricket, you have to take care of the ball and make sure that the newer it is, the better it is, because the harder it is, the more it moves through the air and things like that. And but the pitch in cricket is with a straight arm. So you need to run into it and then
that weird overhand windmill almost, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you'd have to adjust that, I suppose.
But I mean, in the field in cricket, you throw it.
You throw it, normal.
Yeah. I'm sure I couldn't throw a laser from left field to
home.
Maybe not at that level, but
you should get out sometime. They're out there obviously out of season.
Yeah.
In the spring, just walk over, grab a glove, and see how it goes.
See where it takes you.
We'll talk to John Anderson, the head coach, about that and see if the Gopher punter can't be part of it. I got to read a quick commercial here because we want to thank our friends at Affinity Plus. It's your local credit union, proudly serving Minnesota since 1930. If you're a current Gopher student or a proud Gopher alum, that is one of the ways you are eligible to join this financial. It wants to build a meaningful banking relationship and put you first. Meet with a local employee at any of their branches statewide, all over the state. That includes right here, just off of campus on University, just up the road from the stadium. To learn more or to find another way to connect, go to affinityplus.org/go Gophers. Affinity Plus, Federal Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA. I've gone way over what I told you, but you've been so compelling. Can I ask you a couple more quick ones here?
Absolutely.
I want to ask you about Australia. Everyone talks about, gosh, someday I want to go to Australia, right?
Yeah.
So you're from Perth, but you trained in Melbourne. I'm sure you've been over. You have traveled the world, so to speak. So if somebody I've not been to Australia, and that's one of the spots on the bucket list someday I'd like to go. So tell me about it, because I'm sure it's such a large mass of land that there's different areas that have different things to offer. So give us the Mark Crawford Travel Agency guide here. What should we do if we have a couple weeks sometime and we're going to go visit the land down under?
Yeah, for sure. Melbourne, I think I prefer Melbourne as the premier city besides where I grew up in Perth. Mm-hmm. I'd probably still be living in Melbourne if I didn't get the opportunity to come here. But Melbourne is Australia's home of sport. So tennis, Australian rules football, cricket, rugby, they're all sort of big and involved there. I mean, if you like horse racing and things like that, that's massive over there. So that's certainly one place that I would soak up if you're a sports lover, obviously. Sydney, no one really complains about Sydney. I've only been about twice, I think. But that's got the Opera House, the Sydney Harbour Bridge, all the Bondi Beach, all the things that, tourists would want to see for sure.
Yeah. And water, right?
Yeah, water. I mean, all the major cities are across the coast.
Yeah.
They're on the coast. So Perth's a little bit further away. Perth is, I think it's something besides Hawaii, I believe. Perth is the most isolated city in the world.
Really?
So it's about a 28-hour drive to the nearest major city.
Is that right?
From Perth,
wow.
yeah.
So you're flying into that if you're visiting.
Depends where you go. So, funnily enough, Perth has direct flights to Europe.
Yeah.
But not from Sydney and Melbourne don't. But Sydney and Melbourne have direct flights to America. So I have to go. My trip here in January 2020, Perth to Sydney, which is about 4.5 hours.
Of a flight,
yeah. Sydney to Dallas, which was about 16 and a half. And then Dallas to Minneapolis, which is 1.5, 2 hours.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot of flying.
Yeah, it is a lot. But so the best question is when you went to spring break and they say, what are you going to do? You're going to go home for a couple of days? Buddy, takes me 2 days to get home. I think I'm just going to take it easy here for a little bit. But yeah, the East Coast is awesome. Obviously, if you have a month, you can certainly get out to Adelaide and west to Perth. But it's all pretty good.
So you're having fun here. How do you get homesick? How much do you miss it at times? You get to stay in touch with family and friends, FaceTime and that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, the way the world's connected now, it's pretty easy. But I'm actually an only child, so I've sort of been conditioned to being alone sometimes. So the great debate was, do I go home over COVID? Elected to stay here, which fortunately I I believe was the right decision at the time. But yeah, certainly live by myself. I didn't think I saw a teammate for 3 or 4 weeks at one point.
Man.
But no regrets there. It's been awesome, and I don't want to leave. I know I'm only halfway, but I don't want to. Well,
go anyway. It's been fun watching. I'm hoping that you only hold this weekend as well. Is that okay if I hope that?
You can absolutely hope that. The leg will be ready
if need be.
But yeah, absolutely. Holding is the number one attraction on the field.
If the only punting I get to see you do is in pregame warm-ups, that's good.
So be it.
Yeah, be it. This has been fun, man. Can we have you back? We'll talk 100%. Some more sometime down
same
the road.
time next week.
Yeah, same time same channel as well. Appreciate it, man. And it's been fun watching you guys. It's just been such a ball. Let's get another win this weekend.
Sounds good.
All right. He's Mark Crawford. It's episode 38.
That's the man with the big right leg. Gopher punter Mark Crawford on the Go Gopher podcast, episode number 38. I hope you enjoyed listening to that conversation as much as I did being a part of it. Our thanks to Mark, and our thanks to Affinity Plus for sponsoring our Gopher player profile on the Go Gopher podcast. We'll continue our football discussion with Tom Dienhart from goldenblack.com. It's a scouting report on Purdue. But first, a word from Tony.
Hey, Gopher fans, this is your State Farm agent, Tony Hoagland. We are super excited to be part of the new Mike Grimm Show on Talk North. For the year of 2022, we will be donating $10 to the University of Minnesota Children's Masonics Hospital for everyone that calls our office or checks in with us online and mentions that they heard about us on Talk North and the Mike Grimm Show. We are really excited again that Mike came on board with Talk North. You can reach us at 763-421-4900. You can find us on the web at champlaininsurance.com. Again, 763-421-4900, or find us on the web at champlaininsurance.com. Roll the boat, Sky Yuma, go Gophers.
We continue with episode number 38, the Go Gopher podcast with Mike Grimm. Mike Grimm with you, and we want to get a Purdue Boilermakers scouting report. No one better to get that scouting report than college football insider Tom Dienhart, working with goldenblack.com, the Rivals site that covers Purdue athletics. And Tom, of course, a long time worked with the Sporting News and the Big Ten Network. And I think you and I, Tom, first met back when I was covering Cardinals baseball and the Missouri Tigers down in St. Louis, and you were working for the Sporting News, and it's been fun to catch up every now and then ever since.
Exactly, Mike. I know time goes by quickly, doesn't it? You're one of the famous KMOX alums. I've always loved following your career from afar. Pretty neat what you've been able to cultivate, Mike. And I always love, again, seeing you and speaking with you. And I look forward to seeing you this weekend, too.
Yeah, I remember you used to come on my show on KMOX and we talked some college football. And here we are all these years later. We're talking Gophers and Boilermakers. We love the Big Ten. And I think we are in for a pretty good game this weekend. What do you think?
Yeah, it's, Purdue's got a tall task. Minnesota, I think, has become the hot team in the Big Ten West, I guess the cool pick to maybe rise up and win that division this year, Mike. It looks like it's wide open. And again, Wisconsin looks like it's sort of a work in progress. Who knows what Iowa has? Northwestern, Illinois, Nebraska, Purdue. I mean, they all have their issues, but Minnesota's really hitting on all cylinders right now. So going to be a tall task for Purdue to try to get a win up there in Dinkytown, I think.
Yeah, a couple of things right off the bat. As we are talking here, this is Monday afternoon. Some people may be listening to this podcast later on in the week, so there might be new news. So I want to make sure that we preface it to know that we're not giving you dated news. But as we talk, this is what we know. And I guess my question is, what do you know on the quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, who missed last week that game against Florida Atlantic? Do you expect that he'll play here in Minneapolis?
If I were to make a guess, I would say yes. Now, we had Jeff Brom at his press conference. He met the media on Monday, and we obviously asked Coach Brom about that. And he was non-committal, as you would suspect, maybe a bit of gamesmanship, Mike. Just like last week, I think this is going to dribble all through the week and just be a game-time decision, if you will. News will probably break sometime, maybe Saturday morning. But again, I guess I'm leaning toward maybe we are going to see Aiden O'Connell, because I'll be frank with you. If he doesn't play, I don't think Purdue has a chance to win that ball game up there. It's believed that he has a rib injury, Mike. Yep. Coach Brom hasn't said that. We've asked him. doesn't want to reveal it. He suffered it in the first quarter of the Syracuse game on September 17th. He finished that game, played very well. Purdue lost a tough one at the end. He sat out this last week. And the one thing he does, Mike, is he makes that offense go. He can throw the ball vertically down the field. Austin Burton, who got the start Saturday against Florida Atlantic, he can't do that. It's a very pedestrian offense. It's a much different offense. So, again, stay tuned. But if I was guessing right now, I'd lean toward maybe seeing Aiden O'Connell on Saturday.
Yeah, I would think that, and I also don't blame the Purdue coaching staff for not letting anybody know, right? I mean, that there's no need at this point to, if they know, they know, and there's no need to do anything in terms of making anything public. I think PJ Fleck Monday said that that they're preparing as if O'Connell will play, and also preparing for, of course, the other guys that might be playing as well. Let's talk about this Purdue team. I liked them in the offseason. Some people were talking about them as a dark horse candidate to win the West, and I thought that's not enough. They're more to me than a dark horse. I think they can be right in the thick of it it shouldn't be a surprise if they end up winning. That's what I thought. They played Penn State, ranked 11th now. They played them very tough. Probably, I think some Boiler fans probably should have won that game. Stubbed their toe late, as you mentioned, against Syracuse, and then had to sweat one out last week. So give me an assessment here of your Boilermaker football team through 4 games.
Yeah, I think you did a pretty good job there, but you're right. I think Purdue fans and even the staff, even the players, anybody surrounding this program believes they'll let Penn State off the hook, and they let Syracuse off the hook too. Penn State scored its winning touchdown with 57 seconds to go. Of course, Syracuse scored with 7 seconds to go. Both games, Mike, Purdue had the ball with the lead, but they could not bleed the clock. They couldn't get first downs. They couldn't add to their score. They had to punt the ball back in each game, and it proved to be disastrous. The defense finally gave in. So just a tough beginning, and I'll be honest with you, a disappointing beginning. I think most people thought this team would be at least 3-1 coming out of September, maybe 4-0, and they're sitting at 2-2 right now. And, Mike, they face what I think is probably make or break October. Yeah. 3 of the 4 games are on the road. Go to Minnesota, then they got to go to Maryland, and you come home for Nebraska, and then you go to Wisconsin. So you see what Purdue's up against here. And when we've talked a little bit about the injuries, Aiden O'Connell's not the only guy. Purdue's been playing without his best defensive player for 3 games now, Jalen Graham, who's sort of a safety linebacker. He's dealing with a fractured tibia, and I wouldn't think you're going to see him on Saturday. I think it'd be a real surprise if he plays on Saturday. Purdue certainly could use him trying to slow down that offense, but I think they're probably going to have to go another game without, again, their best defensive player, Jalen Graham.
What do you think will be the way that they can get back to kind of playing the way that they have played? They finished the year so strong last year, got 9 wins, won the bowl game, and like Minnesota, maybe a bit more favorable schedule in the crossover, which is why I thought they were more – I think they're good, but in addition, I think they had a schedule benefit, maybe like the Gophers do, and that you avoid, Michigan and Ohio State, and like it or not, that's a factor. Iowa won it last year, the division, without having to play either of those teams, or Michigan State, who was an 11-win team last year. And so that plays a role. And both Minnesota and Purdue are in a situation where they don't have to face those teams. And I think that makes this weekend even more exciting. And I also think, that the Boilers can flip their season if they can come in here and pull off an upset.
Oh, it'd be huge if they could. You're exactly right. It would be an elixir to what ails Purdue from a confidence standpoint, from a swagger, from a mojo standpoint. And you're right, we get them right back on track because everything's still a possibility. We all know there's 8 Big Ten games left. You're only 0-1, right? So there's plenty of runway left to still really have a nice season. And, yeah, a win up there in Minnesota would be huge given how well the Gophers are playing. To be one of the bigger upsets of the weekend if Purdue's able to pull it off. So, yeah, again, a tall task. Again, a Purdue team that, really has struggled to get leads in the first half. They're not scoring many points, and they're really putting their defense in a bind where they almost have to be perfect at the end. And, again, it's really been a bind for the program overall. And, again, injury-wise, Mike, last week it was devastating. They didn't have one of their cornerbacks, which really hurt them bad. They didn't have one of their starting offensive tackles, which was a big problem. And they played the last 2 weeks without the number 1 running back, King Daru. in addition to having Aiden O'Connell out. So again, it's been a real mess with the injuries for Purdue so far, Mike. And I'll be honest with you too. They've had some problems this last month with penalties. It really was disastrous at Syracuse. They had 13. Against Penn State, they had 9. They've had issues with missed tackling as well. So there's been a long list of things for the staff to try to work on so far.
Is that something with that you think you can shore? I mean, obviously, health-wise, you just hope you get healthy. And it seems like every year Purdue has to battle it. I remember when we were out there maybe a couple years ago, I think, was it Bell? And then the quarterback's name's escaping me now. They got hurt on like back-to-back plays. And it's just been one of those deals over the years. And then is that something you think they can clean up quickly, the penalties, get things back in order, or is that a longer task to try to get more discipline out of that group?
Yeah, that was 2019. You guys went 38-31, and Elijah Sindelar and Rondale Moore got hurt.
Yeah, Rondale Moore, that's right.
They suffered season-ending injuries on the same play.
Yeah,
and that's the day Tanner Morgan was like 21-22 passing for almost 400 yards. One of the greatest passing performances by any quarterback in Ross-Ade Stadium history. So, yeah, just another great effort by the Gophers against Purdue that day. But, Mike, they said they've done all they can with the penalties. Going into last week, they really stressed it. They showed the players every penalty they had committed up to that point. Last week, I think they had 5 penalties against Florida Atlantic, but they did have one costly personal foul late hit in the fourth quarter that extended a drive and allowed Florida Atlantic to score. So that's the kind of stuff that's killed Purdue. So you do what you can, you stress what you can. And again, they have focused on trying to get the penalty stuff cleaned up because, again, it was just an utter fiasco in that Syracuse game at the end. They scored the go-ahead touchdown. They had 2 personal foul penalties on the PAT.
Right, and the head coach too, right?
Yeah, the head coach when they had to kick off from their 10-yard line. It was just an embarrassment in a lot of ways, and just a tough way to let that game get away from you up there.
I wanted to ask you about Charlie Jones. You talk about Rondale Moore. I said Bell, but it was Moore. You're right. Now that you refresh my memory, I'm getting old, Tom. I can't remember.
I am too.
Year, but yes, it was Rondale Moore and Sindelar back to back, and then Bell ended up having a great year and obviously had just a wonderful career. But he also over the years had some injury issues, so it seems Purdue can't shake that injury bug. But my question now in relation to those 2 really good receivers, obviously the Brom offense is good for receivers, part of why Charlie Jones, I'm sure, left Iowa to go to Purdue. But man, I don't know, maybe you did. I didn't think, I knew Charlie Jones was good. He killed the Gophers last year down in Iowa City with a couple of big catches and a punt return and different things. But to see what he's doing, holy cow, what a year.
What a revelation. Where would Purdue be without Charlie Jones, number 15? I mean, nobody anticipated him having this type of an impact where he's leading the country in receptions. He's tied for the national lead in touchdown catches. I think he's number 3 in receiving yards. He gets targeted double-digit times per game. We're 4 games in, Mike, and I keep waiting for somebody to sort of shut him down. And it really hasn't happened yet. Maybe Minnesota will have some type of a kryptonite to try to slow down Charlie Jones because he's been awfully special. He really has an impact as a return man. He was the Big Ten return man of the year last season.
Yeah.
But, honestly, Mike, we talked to Jeff Brom about this too, and even Charlie, he's really valuable in offense, and a lot of times he's just worn out.
Yeah,
and really hasn't had an impact. But again, why even risk it if I'm Purdue? I mean, he's so valuable to you catching the ball in your offense. And one shortcoming so far, and we keep waiting for this to happen, is that there's no number 2 receivers really stepped up to be a yin to Charlie Jones's yang, if you will. One of the best receivers, Brock Thompson's missed almost the entire year with a knee issue. Maybe you'll see him Saturday. I don't know, but he'd be nice if they had him. Guys like TJ Sheffield and Deion Burks, Mershawn Rice. There's nobody that's really stepped up to be a compliment to Charlie Jones. He's still done really well despite that. And honestly, Mike, probably the best guy beyond Charlie Jones when it comes to catching passes is their tight end, Payne Durham. He's a load. Mackey Award nominee. Keep your eye on number 87 because if Purdue's going to win, he's going to probably have to have a big game.
It's interesting, too, I think, Tom, in college football, you see these weird things happen like, Kansas State at home as a 17-point favorite loses to Tulane, and everyone thinks, man, what's going on? They off to a good start. We thought they might have something going, and now they're going to go get smoked in Norman because that everyone loses there, and then they go out and dominate. I mean, really, they were in control of that game really the whole time. Adrian Martinez has the game of his life, and so college football is fun that way. And then when you think about kind of this circle of stuff, Purdue, for whatever reason, has not been able to solve the Minnesota issue the last few years. I think the Gophers won 4 straight overall, and then 6 in a row in Minneapolis. As you mentioned, they hadn't won in Huntington Bank, but Minnesota cannot beat Iowa to save its life for 6 straight years, and Purdue can't lose to Iowa. So that's the beauty of college football, right? It's crazy when you think about all the different things happening each week.
Yeah, just when you think you got it figured out, you watch games the next weekend, you're rubbing your eyes and scratching your head. So, yeah, that's what makes it fun. That's why we love it, I think, is the unpredictability, 18 to 22-year-olds, the emotion of the sport. So, yeah, it keeps us on our toes and makes it fresh every Saturday. I just love it. And you're right. It's weird out how some teams have a whammy over others and you can't figure out how to beat other teams. And for Purdue, boy, Minnesota's been a real issue, Mike. And it's been a series filled with some strange happenings of late. We talked about the Sinlar and Moore getting hurt on this suffering season-ending injuries on the same play. And 2017, the first time Brom and Fleck meet in Ross-Ade, there was a lightning thunder delay that caused that game to be delayed for a while. And Purdue won late on a pick 6. You guys had that game won, I remember.
Yeah, you're right.
Juwan Bentley ran back about interception for a TD. Of course, 2020, up there is still a sore spot with Purdue fans. Payne Durham, the tight end I talked about, was called for what Purdue fans like to think was a phantom offensive pass interference call that wiped a TD off the board late.
Total push off, Tom. Total push off.
They're still hot about that.
Yeah.
That was a COVID game with like 50 people in the stands. And then after the game, Mike, Rondale Moore came on our Zoom and it was out of the blue where he started to apologize for not being there for his teammates. So he was a guy that was nursing on injury all year and went through that will he play, won't he play every week. And it was just another bizarre set of circumstances around a Purdue Minnesota game. Yep. So it's been a crazy series filled with some interesting subplots.
Yeah, and then you think back the Drew Brees era. I remember this was before my time at Minnesota, and before you were regularly covering Purdue on a weekly basis. But Gopher fans are still bitter about a couple of games. Drew Brees, he had a Hail Mary, and then the home clock operator allowed Drew Brees to spike a ball where he really shouldn't have been able to have time, and they kicked a long field goal to win it. So you're right. This has been a crazy series for a number of years, and there could be some wackiness coming up on Saturday, I suppose.
That was 2001 in the Metrodome when the clock operator, your clock operator didn't do a good job, and they got Travis Dorsch on the field to kick a game-winning field goal. Going way back, Mike, in the 90s, I remember in the Metrodome, Minnesota got beat by Purdue like 59-56. Just a nuts game, and then the Purdue defensive coordinator got fired on the plane coming home. Again, you jarred my memory. I was going way back in my recesses, and that one popped in my head too while we were talking.
Yeah, and then there was I forget now, there was some touchdown scored at the Metrodome. I believe it was a Minnesota-Purdue game, and because the way the end zone was, because they take out the carpet for the Vikings the next day, the white line where it was confused the ref, and he called it inbounds when it was really out of bounds, or vice versa. I forget, and Gopher fans aren't thrilled with that one from years ago either. So yeah, there's been some fun. Well, Tom, it's been fun. Thank you for the Scott and Report. It's kind of a crossroads game here, I think, for the Boilermakers. The Gophers, too. If the Gophers can get this and get out to 2-0, then obviously they got a step ahead really on everybody else in the division. But if Purdue comes in and wins, then, hey, it's anyone's league right now, right?
Exactly right. Again, a lot of football left, and you sure would like to start October with a W for Purdue, just getting some momentum back, and for the Gophers, obviously, keep that mojo going as one of the hottest teams, not just I guess in the Big Ten, Mike, but in the nation, really.
Yeah, they've been playing well, and we'll see if it can continue. Goldandblack.com. You can find out all about the Purdue Boilermakers with Tom Dienhart going to that webpage. Tom, are you going to be able to make it to Minneapolis?
I will be there, but I leave at 1 o'clock on Friday afternoon. I'll be up there. I'm looking forward to it, staying out by the airport. And I love the fact that it's an early game, too. Yeah. I love getting there early and playing under the sunshine. I love that venue. I love that campus, and I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds good. Stop down in the booth and say hello.
Will do, buddy.
All right, sounds good. Tom Dienhart with us. It's episode 38, the Go Gopher podcast. My thanks to Tom Dienhart for providing a thorough scouting report on the visiting Purdue Boilermakers. Also, a big thanks to Gopher punter Mark Crawford, talking Gopher football here on the Go Gopher podcast, episode number 38. The podcast is presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're buying or selling a business, visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com. We once again want to thank our partner, Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union, your local credit union throughout the state of Minnesota. Our podcast is also sponsored by State Farm agent Tony Hoagland. Again, I'd invite you to listen to past podcasts, and please be sure to subscribe to the Go Gopher podcast right now. It's free to listen at any time. And also, please share the link on your social media channels so others can listen as well. We'll talk again next week.